Now, there's some interesting stuff. I've used this opening in Blitz chess when I was playing Blitz, just because I didn't feel like playing book openings and learning more. Just wanted to have fun. So there's some interesting stuff with this line. Give you some ideas. This comes a lot. Now, white has a sneaky little move, f3, and black has to take, or he's going to drop that pawn. So look at that. White has control of the center. And this pawn here may be in some danger. Now I ran into a number of lines here playing blitz chess. I run into c5, and now you play e3, and you're hoping for for this and this, and then maybe the queen comes out here, and I found it wisest to play b3. See, we don't want to play necessarily queen c1 because bishop h6 for one. Well, actually, we could also drop this pawn. If I remember this, yeah, we don't play queen c1 because of this. That's just the most direct way. And white's game is in trouble. So if we just stop and play b3, now this comes in. I knew this was coming in somewhere. Now we can play queen d2. No, we can't because the pawn takes. So no, I think we play queen d3. So this is definitely a bizarre opening, to say the least. What'll often happen is white will play knight f3, and this pawn will run down there, and we just push by it, and then we try to win this pawn later. I won games that way. So if you're looking for something to get your opponent out of book and want to experiment with some bizarre chess, try this. I mean, I tried a lot of bizarre openings. The logic was I want to have fun. Okay, I want to try something different. I wanted to, I could show you all kinds of funny stuff I used to do. Maybe I'll do that one day when I run out of these games to analyze. I'm nearing the end of what I have. I have to like I say, I have to redo a few, but I'll find more. I'm finding these longer games are more entertaining for me if I'm watching a live game, like at a site they don't know I'm looking at. I've been at Lee Chess, I've been at Chess Kid, and between the two, they weren't as fun as looking at these ones. But give you some ideas. Okay, so this move is totally playable, but often this is exactly what white wants. He'll take this just to double the pawns. So, for instance, e6 is a playable move to avoid the doubling of the pawns, and now white can play e4, and we might reach a French defense. See, this is a French defense, and if you're going to play this defense as black, you have to know the French defense from this position. Case in point. Oh wait, I like to play this. Now when they grab the pawn. Now this isn't necessarily the best move. It's the move I learned. If black castles, it's forced checkmate. This is fun.
Check.
Now queen h5 mates quicker, but I like to do it this way. Just keep checking.
Check. Checkmate.
All forced. And if he comes out with the king, we're going to mate a couple moves here with a pawn. No, with a knight. I'm sorry, I got it backwards.
Checkmate.
Okay. Now, if he declines the sacrifice,
check.
This forces mate. If you try to make an escape square for the king, it's plugged. Mate next. And if you try to get the king out to e8, he's too slow.
Check.
So I promise it's forced mate. Don't fall into that if you play this, okay? So I had a game a few months ago. I showed this already on broadcast. And let's see. So black needs to play. I had somebody play this against me once and then ran into trouble here. And I've shown that position. So black needs to play a6. That gives white a tempo. And had somebody play this against me, and I just sacked on him. And you can't take with the queen because this comes in. I spent a long time analyzing this early on in this broadcast. The correct one is actually this.
Check.
But I played here.
Check.
He came back. And I went here. And he went there. Then came this check.
Check.
And what happened? He resigned in here somewhere. I think he resigned there because
check.
this check is just fatal. Yeah. What's black do? He gives up his queen, I think.
Checkmate.
So let's see. Yeah, that was it. Anyway, I'd like to show a little bit more, give you some wider knowledge. And there's a case, there's another reason I did all this. You know, we started with a D4 opening and we ended up with an E4 opening. And let me give you a famous example. Well, maybe it's not that famous, but the match is famous. Okay, you all know what the Sicilian defense is, right? Okay, well, do you know what the Scotch game is? That's the Scotch game. Well, the Scotch game is very drawish. Well, anyway, back in 1972, there was this game played by a couple of people you probably heard of, where black opened with a Sicilian defense, and somewhere around move 15, he found a way to transpose it to a position that arises out of the Scotch game, which is totally equal. And the genius that did this with black, it was in the 21st match game. Bobby Fischer did it with black against Boris Spassky. And Spassky was just horrified when he realized how he'd been tricked. And, you know, Fischer was ahead 11.5 to, I guess, 7.5, 8.5, 11.5, 8.5. That makes 20, right? And match to 24. All Fischer needs is 2 draws. He had to get 12.5 points. If it's a 12-12 tie, Spassky keeps the title. So there's 4 games to play, and Fischer needs 2 draws. Spassky needs, he had to have 8.5 points. He needs to get 2.5 out of 4 just to tie the match. So that means win 2. Win 2, lose 1, draw 1. There's just 2.5 points. No, that's not right. 8.5 plus 2.5 is only 11. He needs 3.5 out of 4. I mean, he almost has to win every game. So, you know, he couldn't. He didn't win them. Another draw. Yeah, 1 draw, and Fischer has 12 points and only needs 1 more draw to win. So Spassky had to win 3 out of 4 with 1 draw. And suddenly he found himself in a drawing position. So when you can recognize certain things you can do, you know, certain plans from one opening and put it in another one, it's a feather in your cap. Okay, so I like to educate, and he does take. But this is okay for black. They should take with this pawn. That activates this bishop. That's playable, but this is better. You know, this bishop has a good diagonal, and white doesn't have a dark squared bishop, and eventually this pawn is going to be on e3 because white wants to put his pawns on the opposite color of the bishop, and we can jettison this pawn eventually, probably with this move. Okay, this is playable, but okay, now c4. Now, here, knowing something about different openings, I would say knight c6 is a good move for black. That turns it into a similar position to the Jagoran defense. But in the Jagoran defense, black very often gives up one or both bishops for knights. So if you know the systems, you can see it. Now the difference in the Jagoran is this is back here, the knight is returned to here, and that bishop that's gone is back here. That's your Jagoran. And this is I got a chuckle out of this. Let me digress again. Me being in a thirst of trying to play the bizarre, I actually invested some time one time looking at this, and I determined it was eventually determined it was no good. But it was good for surprise value and getting your opponent to spend clock time. So maybe in a blitz game, but not in a tournament game. Okay. So now we get to see something similar to something I looked at before. Now, what was the refutation? I think the refutation is to... Oh, gosh. I forget. Wait, who is White's move? Okay. Not Black's. Let's see. Is it Knight C3? Yeah, I think it's Knight C3. Because if pawn takes, this queen comes out. This is under attack. Black doesn't have time for Knight C6. E6 is going to lead to even worse pawn structure than the other one. Now this pawn is loose. So let's see what he does. He took here. Now that lets black do. This is what you want when you play this defense with black. You want him to take there, because now the queen comes out and has a threat. So White's misplayed this. Okay, that doesn't mean that White's losing. I just said White has misplayed this. Now imagine Knight here. This looks playable. Okay, so I've seen black with similar positions in the Jagoran, but this pawn is back here. All right. What are you going to do about your king side castling? I don't know, this doesn't seem right. White's just attacking with his queen. Now, granted, we can't play f6, but would we really want to? We can play here, or we can play here to defend. And I don't really know if White has anything here. We need this knight over on f5. It takes 3 moves. Counterattack. Okay. Here he's saying, let's just go into an ending and I'll have the 2 bishops. And White agrees. So if you want to win games, you play something like this, and you analyze against this. Okay, so it doesn't look like White's achieved anything out of this. I mean, look at those center pawns. They're shutting the minor pieces in. But I'm impressed with one thing: the amount of time on both sides' clocks. This is great. Okay, this is wonderful. I mean, maybe they've taken too much time because now they're going to be in time pressure. But good job, A+ on the time. Maybe A- simply because maybe a little too much. But White doesn't have any weaknesses. He's just a little clumsy. Black should try to find a way to open up the position and get his bishops into the game. And I guess that's a good try as any to open something up. Okay, so triple pawns, no big deal. White says they're not going anywhere. But I don't know, these bishops are stuck. They're stuck defending. So one idea for black would be, who cares about this pawn? Let's do this. This is a great move. See, in this position, for the E file is shutting down. Okay, now we could almost even want to sacrifice this pawn at some point. We don't care if it disappears because this guy here, he springs to life. Now, I don't know if it's any good or not, but this is the kind of move I will examine, and you should too. It's a clearance sacrifice, a positional sacrifice. Yeah, White can probably win that pawn. Here he comes. Now let's connect the rooks. Let him have the pawn. Okay, now we got to watch this guy, right? No, he's covered. Well, we can't slide over this way. Let's just go chase the rook because we got that opened up. None of this. Ooh, look at this. This thing is, we're winning a piece. See how little attention I'm paying? So, we can't do this because of this. But if the concept is there. This bishop e5 is not possible unless you sacrifice that pawn. So, let's see what happened. So Black wants to just keep that pawn. Okay, but you're keeping your bishops bad. You missed the chance to take, to play e3 and make him take back with a pawn. Now we got the pawn back. This is under attack. Well, there goes any advantage of having the two bishops. So the rule with the opposite color bishops is the attacking side is a piece ahead, but if the rooks come off, it's most likely a draw. So how do we become the attacking side? Well, we got to get our bishop activated. This bishop needs to be right there. That's active. How do you get there? Here's an idea. Let's try to give up this pawn. Now, you can't take it yet. We'll try to give up that pawn and then bring him back and seize the square. Not the greatest idea. Well, I mean, it's a great idea. I mean, not the greatest moves to make it happen. We have to unprotect the pawn twice. We have two guys on it. Make white double or something. I certainly like to find a useful place to put this bishop. I don't know what's useful. Let's go this way. Here we go. Hello, Mr. Pawn. So white can't play there yet. So yeah, we just bait him into it. See, I found a way to activate that bishop. Now, black has sacrificed a pawn to do this, but his bishop is active. And what's white's doing? Okay, let's look at it a little further. And now, that doesn't make sense. He's letting, well, no, he's going to be on this. But maybe we can give that up. Let's see if he takes. He does. Ah, see? My instinct says you can give this up. Because we're going to get that in.
Check.
Now, why doesn't he check?
Check.
So you can't go here, right?
Checkmate.
So you have to go here. Now, I don't know. Let's see. The natural move to play is this, but this is going to interpose. What if we throw this wrinkle? See, black has some problems here. Let's just burn a move.
Check.
How do you get out of check?
Checkmate.
How do you get out of checkmate? Okay, what's black do here? See, he didn't have time for that because of this.
Check.
So black needs to defend the square. How does he do that? Well, he gets a check here.
Check.
Okay. I'll come up. But black got his rook this activated black's bishop. And to some degree, white's bishop is activated. Okay, I'll bite. I'll take. Probably should take back. Although, let's see. We could get a set of rooks off, right? Check.
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 Gonna lose that pawn on d5. Well, I don't know. I mean, he played this in about 2 minutes of thought. It doesn't seem right because all you're doing is avoiding a check, but you are keeping the pin on the bishop. So we'll say it's a good move. But that's a good move too. We had problems on that
Check.
position. And white is a pawn ahead, but this pawn is stopped.
Check.
You know, it should be a draw. Black just blockades on the dark squares and white can't crack through. So, no, I don't know. White's suddenly got somewhere. He got some double pawns. I mean, he's got some isolated pawns, but again, you know, black just holds the dark squares. White can't crack through. I mean, sometimes white can have connected pawns and they can't go through.
Check.
Black's getting some inroads. Well, this would have been stronger. But the moment this pawn gets here, this king just comes here, we take over the dark squares. See, white can't make progress because black owns the dark squares. Well, I don't know. What are you doing? This allows this. Why doesn't he? Oh, if you play this, this drops. Although, let's see. Black may have to give up that bishop for the pawn at some point. And black needs to get this pawn up here and trade off the last pawn. Let's see what happens here. That'll hold the draw. Tricky. But I guess I would play that just under general principles. Now he does. So it's very similar. How about that, huh? Amazing. Huh? Would you like a draw? Yeah, okay, so excellent play on the end to make the draw. Okay. That was a fun game. I'm going to stop the recording.